it's it's a sport that it's like any sport. It hurts enough, but that one, yeah, it's like downhill skiing. Like it's
Yes.
if you've never done the safety because
Okay.
So
we'll walk on the path rather than walk
Hi,
on the
Colvin. Hi, Susan. Can you hear us? Hello? You can hear us? You're muted, Susan.
Was that the same?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And I do have Travis Reed here with me as well.
Very good, very good. Okay, so we're just gonna give it a minute.
Yep.
I'm sure we have quorum here. So one second.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're ready to go. Okay. And we will go and call it.
There's no reason that anything pivot that's crazy that it's for us, so it's like, it's not for us, I agree with them, it's like, it's that late. It's
Something.
And then there's snow, it's like, yeah. But when it doesn't, crucial.
Yes.
We're gonna start. Go.
Okay, great.
Go.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here, both live and almost as good as live, or just different from live, or Zoom. Yeah, I guess I could have just said that. So it's 4:00 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order, and I certainly do acknowledge with respect, as we all do, I am sure, that we are on Robinson Huron Treaty territory, and the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, known as Powhatan. Powhatan is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. I'm looking for, we have item, wait, let's just change papers here, one sec. This should be item 3 on the agenda, which is adoption of our minutes. So looking for someone to move and second, Corey, thank you, and a seconder for adoption of the minutes. Thank you, Mark. Of our last, were you here, Bill?
Right, was it online?
I don't remember.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll have to check the minutes. Just go check the minutes. Yeah, Corey was here.
Okay. All right, so Corey and Mark, any questions, concerns, additions, deletions from those minutes? And seeing none, all in favor of adoption of the minutes of our last meeting, October 12th, that's carried. Any declarations of pecuniary interest today from any of the members of the committee? No, seeing none, moving on to item yes, number 5, which is adoption of the agenda. Could I have someone to move in second adoption of today's agenda? Looking for, thank you, Andre, to move. Looking for someone to second. Thank you, Tori. Any additions to today's agenda or any questions? Anything of concern? Seeing nothing, all in favor of approval of the agenda for today's meeting, November 7th. That is carried. Thank you very much. The first item up on our section 6 here is our project priorities section. Is to hear today from on our climate action spotlight from our city departments. This is the Public Works Department. And I see Susan there, and I thought I heard Susan say that Travis was there as well. Yeah. Travis Reed is there as well. You have Susan's the highlights of the comments that Susan's going to make today. Susan, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having Public Works. Certainly, we are excited about some of the projects that either we have taken on and or are about to. So I can provide you some details with regards to certainly our Public Works Building A. This involved an LED retrofit, actually involved 2 phases, I'd say, of a project.
Yeah.
So
Okay, Susan, sorry, you're gonna have to talk really loud. The acoustics in here are very poor and we're as loud as we can go, so shout.
Okay, I'll come closer, hopefully, to my mic. If not, I will put on my mic and then Travis might not be able to hear. Is it clear?
It's clear, it's just, it's poor acoustics in this space, that's all.
Okay, I will go as slower and louder if I can here.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So really we tackled our mechanic shop area and our welding shop area and an equipment storage area. So the value that's reflected there of the incentive, I think, Emily, we actually ended up around $10,000, Paul tells me. And I'm not 100% certain. I would think that 1.42 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent is only increased if we look at the 2 phases of that project. So from our standpoint, it's really brought about a better work environment. You know, our staff are really pleased with it, and it's certainly it's saving there. So we're really excited about that. The next 4 projects, although Travis by far is the better person to speak to it, but I'm probably closer to the mic. We're taking advantage of the incentive program that came, which looked at outdoor lighting. So again, this is certainly, I think, will be advantageous for a number of our service groups, as well as have some real significant savings. So the North Street ball diamond, we're actually replacing poles and all. We have some structural issues there with the poles, and the lights will all be undergoing an LED retrofit. We're looking at just over 47,000 of kilowatt hour reduction there. And we've been very grateful to, it'll be just over a $22,000 project. Travis just told me, I think lights have been ordered today for that project. He's shaking his head. I'm sorry, you can't see it. The Bondar Boardwalk lighting project. So a lot of walkers have made comment with over the last few seasons, you know, of lights being on and off. We've undergone, or will be undergoing, over 250 lights and the railings and the bollards and that extension. So that will be, you'll really be seeing an improvement there. And the Strathclyde soccer fields, number 1 and 2, they will undergo a lighting retrofit, as well as which rinks, Travis?
All 4 outdoor hockey rinks.
So all
including
4 will undergo an LED lighting retrofit. So you'll really, some of the, just obviously those facilities are open to the public, as well as a lot of the service groups. So they should see a real advantage, and we should definitely see some savings there. If I move on to what we've done over also in the building division, this one, if you would see the pallets of these 9-liter containers that would arrive on site and get used and then of course disposed of, we've actually converted to a bulk dispensing system, and we have this in effect for about 3 months, and we figure we have saved over 100 containers just in that time period. So over the course of the year, you're really going to see a lot less plastics here. And, you know, certainly something that this is a real practical solution. The fellows and the operators are really excited and are finding ease with use of the system, and they're really taking to it. So we're quite pleased with that. We have, I think, some exciting news in the area of our fleet. We are certainly hoping to acquire an electric pickup. That'll be in our 2024 fleet replacement program, which is going to also implement the whole charging system here for Public Works. And I think I have just confirmed with my City Hall counterparts, we'll be the first, I think, Emily, you can confirm as well, the first system, our first facility to have the charging system on board. So we're working with the PUC and certainly Emily on that, and fingers crossed that project goes well and we end up with this as one of our, you know, our pilot pieces of equipment, but certainly well needed, and we'll be excited to have it on in our fleet. The second bullet there under fleet, this has been a big one. We're looking to have a full dedicated fleet management information system on board. It's actually going to council at the next meeting as far as our vendor. And this system is going to be able to track for us all fuel costs, our volumes of fuel used, the kilometers associated with that usage. It is going to help us identify outliers to the overall fleet and help, you know, adjust our replacement plan based on those numbers. and really take us from what we'll call a data poor system to a very data rich system that'll help educate our decisions on which fleet items certainly raise to the top in the overall replacement plan, and can look at it from a fuel usage perspective, as well as repairs and all of the full, basically all the components that we are in fact trying to improve there. So it's going to be dedicated to public works. We've really delved deep into our fleet, but that system and the system we're acquiring is definitely going to be able to be adopted by other of city garages, and we've certainly brought transit and fire, up to the level, and they're, I think, quite excited. We'll again be somewhat the guinea pig as running through this and getting our fleet in and all of our data running, but I see certainly in future years that they'll have the advantages of this system in their areas as well, if they so choose. And then the last item that we did work on, we put together a multi-year replacement plan for our small engine machinery. So I'm sure, as many of you can imagine, we use from plate tampers to Travis's areas, many saws, etc. So we've looked at currently what's on the market, currently what makes sense for us. We are doing some pilots in some of the areas, and certainly open the door in our awareness as to what some of those opportunities may be. And we certainly are more organized and moving ahead in that area as well. So I certainly welcome any questions that you may have, and look forward to certainly providing you an update maybe in a year from now as to some of the projects that have in fact been effective, and hopefully be able to report some good results in our plan for the future.
Anyone with questions for Susan? I see Andre. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What's diesel exhaust fluid?
So that's a requirement basically of all of the newer equipment. And it's I mean, I'm not going to be the expert on what it in fact does to the systems, but basically all of the heavy industrial equipment requires this. So it came in bottles, as it explains, 9 liters. And certainly with the size of our fleet, again, this would arrive on a pallet, and we would end up with, as I explained, 100 containers saved over the 3-month span. So we are certainly appreciative of that reduction of plastic waste.
It's a fuel.
It's an additive.
Yeah, it's an additive to the fuel system. Yes.
Not another one. Susan, just 2 things. One, thank you for opening up a lot of the hub trail for cyclists in the wintertime. Really appreciate it. The other one, there's a couple people are always calling me, so I direct them to you. I hope that's okay.
That is quite all right. Yes.
And my question is, would there be any consideration to keep the bike lanes open in the wintertime?
I'm going to say no on behalf of the department. I know, Andre, this is an item that I mean, I have attended when I wore my engineering hat and was down in engineering. Certainly that space was designed for winter months for snow storage. And given our conditions, actually last year I had some of the area coordinators head out to their areas where in fact we had snowbanks that were in our bike lanes, and it would be no small feat, right? It would be requiring dedicated operators and dedicated equipment and space and a whole lot of time to keep it safe to the standard to which an open bike lane in the winter would be required. So I believe it's been, the decision that at this point in time, certainly with where we're at with the availability of operators and the cost of replacing our fleet, that they would not be open for winter months.
But what I don't understand is Queen Street used to be 4 lanes wide and it used to plow the whole thing, and now there's bike lanes, it's narrower and you don't do it anymore. So why don't you just like do what you used to do and it's like the same as before? But I don't, that's why it's frustrating for cyclists who are, you know, struggling enough in the winter time. Anyways, it's a trend across the world and I would like that decision to be reconsidered, so, and I'd like to participate in best practice. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre.
Anyone else with questions? Looking over here, I'm not seeing any, looking over here. I have, if no one else has questions, I have a couple. One is, are there any projects that you, or initiatives or undertakings that you would have liked to have implemented that are directly related to the greenhouse gas emission reduction plan that is currently the city's plan, that you could not, because of lack of funding or lack of resource, or and I'm just sort of thinking in the broader picture, or anything like a large project in particular that you'd like to do, but you, whether it's financial, human, or otherwise resourced, you could not do that, and it would have an impact or a significant impact on that goal to reduce those emissions.
That is certainly a trick question that, again, from our standpoint, we're operations and maintenance. If I look at what I would think would be a big project, and I was certainly involved at the beginning, and maybe some of you are aware, is certainly our landfill. And right now we do have a landfill gas collection system, and it was visited at that point. Now we're talking, I believe it was 2009 that the regulation came into effect and that we began to collect our gas, and we are just flaring it. I think that that's an exciting opportunity. At the time, it wasn't feasible, you know, for many reasons. The distribution system, the amount of gas we were collecting, in light of the future there, I think that is, I don't want to call it a low-hanging fruit for the obstacles you're saying, Donna. You know, it definitely would need to have a full feasibility study and ensure that there are advantages, but I think, you know, in the long run, it's definitely an opportunity there. From our standpoint, I think, which actually isn't listed here, we do recycle a lot of our asphalt as a department. And as much as I don't want to say the word potholes, because everybody hates us for them, even though we try to mend them, we have, I think it's called a Bagala asphalt recycler system. And I think either a replacement and or a new piece of equipment will be looked at in the future to be even doing either more, better, and to me, that's huge, because anything, you know, asphalt is down on the ground. If we can in fact be recycling it and reusing it, because we all know what our spring roads look like in Sault Ste. Marie, I think that's an excellent opportunity as well. And I think everybody takes great pride. Like, I'm not sure how many of you in the room are aware, but there's a time period where certainly we don't have access to hot asphalt. So we call it a cold mix. Well, it often pops out faster than what our staff can put in. And as frustrating as it is to drive on the roads, I would say our employees are as frustrated, right? Because you may return to the same location a number of times just because of moisture conditions and the temperature and the volume of people on the roads. So if we're in fact able to produce this recycled product, which does come along and come on board, I'm going to suggest by March we're making it, and we don't have access to plants until May. So to improve that process and to have perhaps a larger unit there, I think that's also another very good opportunity.
Okay, and I have one more question, and it's along the waste management
Yes.
line. I know a few years ago there was, I don't know whatever happened with it though, but this idea of a general community waste management plan in order to, you know, generate less waste or work with the community to generate less waste, number one, and have goals towards that. And number two, what's happening with the municipal composting program, that if my memory is serving me correctly is supposed to be implemented through provincial, whatever, by is it 2025 or next year or 2025? Can you speak to that, please, Susan? Because those are big things for the community to know about as well.
Sure. So again, I'm the operator mate. I oversee the staff that's doing that, and Catherine Tato in engineering would be overseeing those studies. So I hope I don't misspeak as to exactly where these projects are at, but I'm often at the table representing our department. And so I certainly can speak to where we are with composting, which that represents 30% of the volume. And most typically in any waste audit in any community, you're sitting at around that, right? So that is huge. That's really going to take us from looking at a 30% through recycling and our other diversion programs to in line of 55 to 60%. So that is mandated for a community of our size by the year 2025. What we've decided and what we had taken to council, because we also had the biosolids project on the go. So the biosolids project was initiated, goodness gracious, I think I started it when I was in engineering in probably mid 2000s, so about 2006, we've been working on a solution to that. And we've narrowed down our vendor there, and we're actually looking at, it's a GOR technology, so very much like your clothing. We'll have basically a composting facility. It was sized originally to handle all the biosolids material from both the East End plant and the West End plant. So that material at this point just goes straight to the landfill, and our operators are dealing with it. It's led to odor issues and many other obstacles that I won't go into detail with. When we had the requirement for curbside organics collection, we piggybacked that plant and basically are looking to expand the size of that plant and have one technology, one plant solve, I'll call both of those issues. And so we're at about, I think, the 60% design stage. You know, we've gone back to the consultant several times and we're working through, you know, certainly reaching that next target with a tender date, I would believe early to mid 2024. So to me, it's really exciting. You know, I have employees that are having to operate equipment and manage biosolids, which is, you know, a residue from these both East and West treatment plants, which is not pleasant, as well as the related odor issues for certainly the community nearby and in the transportation routes of that. So we're really looking to solve, you know, a fair amount of issues with the one plant coming online. The holistic question, Donna, that whole plan, I believe, and it is Catherine who's better to speak to it. I think we had AECOM pull all of the components of our program together, and I have not seen that to date. I don't know, Emily, if you have any update there to provide, and as to what we can then take, you know, to the community at large.
Yeah, so AECOM did prepare a summary of what the municipality has done. I think there was some feedback sent to them. I'll have to follow up with engineering, and we'll review that when engineering comes to do their spiel.
I see Tobin has a question.
Hi there. Can you
Hi,
hear me
Tobin.
okay, Susan?
You'll have to
I
talk
can.
about Tobin.
Okay, I'll I'm in a shared
I feel like
office,
I'm
so-
yelling, and I apologize for that because I feel like I'm.
I apologize if this question has been answered before in previous meetings, but I was just wondering what sort of space or training has been created to figure out how to plan emissions and reductions, and what other cities are doing in terms of best practices for reducing emissions.
Within the Department of Public Works or within the corporation?
I guess both. I guess within the corporation would be maybe Emily, you're better suited to answer that question, but I was just curious, it just came to mind.
Sure, so I'm just gonna jump in, Susan, if that's okay. So, Tobin, we do have a community greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan that highlights 60 actions for the community to reduce emissions in 7 key sectors, as well as within the corporation as well. So that really is our guiding document. Within that document, it's not broken down by department per se for corporate action. However, the actions in the 7 pillars are noted, whether it's a community action or corporate. So we have this as our guide, and doing things like spotlighting and highlighting what every department is doing is hopefully going to help us reach our target a little bit better. But there's a lot of operational things that are taking place behind the scenes as well. So we've recently implemented a climate impact statement on all council reports. It's currently voluntary, it's not mandatory. I'd like to see that possibly progress so that we see more utilization of that aspect, because any project, oh, Andre, you joining? Are you joining?
Yeah, so I can read it.
Got it. So any project that has to seek city approval needs to go through that. So that's a big deal. As well, you may recall that this group prepared a letter that was submitted to senior management as well as city council with key actions that we'd like to see integrated into city operations to improve more emission reduction efforts. So this spotlight series is really an opportunity for each city department to highlight what they've been up to this year. And we're going to continue this to help keep them in check and make sure that it stays a priority for all municipal departments. Susan, anything to add?
Emily, I was just going to say that our facility is undergoing one of these detailed energy audits. And I think there's 3, correct?
There's 6 facilities.
6, my apologies. So, you know, us, and certainly as a facility, we're looking forward to seeing what in fact opportunities lie there. And I think our last audit in digging in the material that we're providing you, Emily, it was done in 2009.
Yeah.
And you know, we certainly use that as a guiding document for things like window replacement and a lot of energy saving projects. But I think this deeper dive that Emily is looking at here, it'll set us on a whole new platform. And it may result in funding requirements that are certainly needed for larger projects. But if we're serious about this as a municipality, I believe that that'll be a huge opportunity.
Thanks for the reminder, Susan, because that actually, just to add a bit more detail, this is a deep energy audit. So it's not just looking at those things like lighting or windows. It's looking at the entire interconnectedness of how a building operates, and will provide a roadmap for 3 different emission reduction scenarios over a series of years. So I think it's 20%, no, 50% in 10 and 5, and I think, I don't know, I have it the scope of work, I don't have it memorized, but 50% and 80%, and then net zero by 2050. So all these 6 facilities, including Susan's Public Works building, there are top 6 energy emission emitters. So we're going after the big 6 to develop those deep carbon reduction roadmaps. So that's another tool that's going to be used, and we're going to have a lot of detail in those audits, like costs, emission reduction for the measures, much greater scope rather than what was done in 2009. So certainly looking forward to that. That project is underway. We should have those studies complete by spring of next year.
Okay, just a quick follow-up question. So with those audits, do they also provide sort of connection with expertise with perhaps from other municipalities, or examples of what other municipalities have done technically to achieve those targets or tackle those areas of high emissions? Because I'm just asking the question because from my perspective, it would be I wouldn't know where to begin. And I'm just wondering if it's left to departments to research this on their own, or if they're connected with resources to help them along, or perhaps provide ideas?
So a consultant has been hired to do these deep energy audits. They are subject matter experts in this area, per the qualifications outlined in the RFP. We had specifics. We also received some funding that required, engineered certified energy managers. And these will provide the departments who are going to have their facilities audited with those tools that are based on, for sure, best practices, but also the expertise of the subject matter experts who are doing the audit. A lot of what I think every department can attest to as well here at the municipality, many of us, like myself, I'm part of a municipal energy manager working group across the province of Ontario, trying to stay up to date on all things municipal energy and sustainability. So there's certainly a lot of resources. We're constantly having consultants knock on our door, offering new products or new ideas. So there definitely is a lot on the go. There's different conferences that counselors and staff alike attend to try to stay up to date on all things, municipal best practices. And of course, woven throughout that is energy and emission reduction as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to ensure that departments didn't feel that they were inventing their way forward, but were connected with the expertise. I appreciate that.
Okay,
I have a quick-
go ahead.
I don't know how quick it is, but I have a question.
We're getting close to having to move on to the next, but please go ahead, Andrew.
So the question is do you guys, for Susan, do you have a overall vision related to climate change and climate action? Is there like a vision?
Not by department. We have our community greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan that has a community and corporate target of net zero emissions by 2050. We have our corporate strategic plan as well, and I think we've talked about this. Sorry, Susan, I'm just going to jump in here. We've talked about it at other meetings, which is sort of like the guiding document to all municipal operations. Within the current strategic plan, we have the value of environmental sustainability, and it does mention implementation of the GHG reduction plan, which is a good start. The city is in the process of, what's the word, revising, Corey, updating the strategic plan. And what's the ETA on that? Next year?
Yeah, we're actually anticipating a get together for next month or so.
Okay, great.
Get started.
So it's in progress. So like city department heads and council, they all attend and they're going to revise this. So that's really where, and you may recall when we were doing our letter from this committee, we said, make sure that this is included in the corporate strategic plan. So we've sent that to council and senior management, but that document is really what guides everything that all departments do.
Yeah, I guess it's more like how do you prioritize what comes first?
For projects and act like specific.
Yeah, like I mean, there's like these retrofits and lighting changes. Like how do you choose those over buying an electric vehicle?
So we could have a deeper discussion about the city budgeting process, like our capital budget and our existing operating budgets that help manage and advance certain priorities and projects. But one thing that I know is being considered is looking at the carbon impact of projects that are considered in the budget. I don't know where that is, but I know it's being considered. So
like if it's a higher
ranking.
emission, that's
yeah, I don't know where we're at, but I know it's certainly something that is being socialized, if you will, the idea. But that would certainly help with prioritizing initiatives, moving away from our business as usual to more emission reduction opportunities. I don't know, Susan, if you want to add.
I guess I was just going to say that, for us, we're in a facility, I think this facility opened in early 70s. So, we definitely will have some operational issues if I go to our lighting projects, where the lighting isn't satisfying our needs, or we're having complaints from a health and safety perspective, et cetera. And so certainly the funding opportunities that Emily has brought forward for us, and then we, find our matching funds and or whatever we are requiring, it largely drives the projects we take on. We would love to do more, you know, to Donna's point, if there's many areas that certainly staff will bring forward, but it does become really a budgeting factor and a timing and manpower or labor factor. So, you know, sometimes we have project deadlines imposed upon us by regulatory requirements, such as the biosolids project, and that will be tied to our curbside composting project. So, you know, knowing that 2025 is our target, that's imposed upon us, but often it is a factor of finances and people power.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you for having us. Like I said, I hope to be back.
Yes, exciting things happening there. Susan, keep up the energy.
Trying to, by reducing it.
There you go. Love it.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Inside of you. Yes. Okay, Emily, we are moving on to 6.2, which is the feedback discussion on the revisions of our Green Initiatives Fund.
Okay. So I'm just going to move my slides here. Okay, so just as a reminder, you all have your agenda package. And in there you will see the revised terms of reference. But as you know, one of the projects that the committee selected for this year was to take a look at the Green Fund and make it better, make the application process better. So things like less red tape, clearer definition of eligibility, intake rounds, allocations for the city or nonprofits. So you'll see in your agenda package the revised application. I'm going to actually open it up here so it's on the screen as well, so we can all see it. There we go. Okay, and I have some notes here, so I'm going to share it with folks on Zoom so that you can see it. Okay, very good. It's hard to see with the screen. I wonder if I can move that.
You can minimize so you see on the screen.
Oh, I just hit that. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, so in the original fund, and I'll encourage the folks who are in person to open up your agenda package to page 20. In the original fund, we had 6 specific categories to that needed to be, a project had to fit within one or some of those categories. So we had GHG emissions reduction, energy efficiency, water conservation and quality, regreening, active transportation, and waste reduction. So we have omitted those 6 categories and really watered them down the specificity of the fund to know more categories. And we'll take that. This is just more in like the purpose of the fund overview, and we'll see that again when we get into the actual application itself. We also, as far as eligible applicants go, added unincorporated groups and school groups with a bit of specifics as well. So unincorporated organizations or collectives would be you know, a nonprofit organization that was not incorporated, but they have to have at least 2 members and have been active as a group for at least 1 year. So that's sort of it for the main piece there. So I'm diving in now to page 22 of your agenda package. And I'm going to go through each part, but I will stop at the end of every section for questions or comments. But this has been the result of at least 2 or 3 meetings of feedback collection. The goal of this meeting today is to get approval for the changes, and then of course we have to go to council for that final approval as well. The one thing that I wanted to make really clear at the front end that wasn't necessarily clear before was for applicants to be sure that they reach out to city staff, aka me, and they do. I work with all applicants on projects from idea to the full application to when it's done before it comes here, because I want them to be as successful as possible for the most part, unless they just submit an application on their own and I'm not aware of it. So my contact information is available at the end as well. So one of the big things was we talked about creating intake. So section 1 of the application has intake periods. And so we are going to base these into 4 parts. So the first submission period will begin January 1 and end at the end of March. There is the application due date. I've just written it so that, you know, as the months change and the dates change, we know it's the last Friday of that month. And then as soon as we have our council, our committee meeting, we have to review it, and then it has to go to council with project implementation dates as well. So people who are applying can have an idea if they're planning an event when they should apply for. And I know based on the feedback that we received about the applications, is this was hopefully going to encourage more competition. As it currently stands, our applications were received on a rolling basis. So sometimes we have 1, sometimes we have 3, sometimes we have none. So having more of a specific timeline will hopefully ensure we have, you know, more applications at the table as well. So I'm going to stop on section 1. I have to open this up again, so I can see if there's any questions online. Okay, I figured that out. So does anybody have questions about the intake setup?
I just have one comment.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have, or can somebody apply multiple times?
Yeah, so it's clear, it's either in the front end or perhaps it's in the finance section. You can apply more than once as long as you have wrapped up your project, submitted your claim, and closed out that project. Like we've had that happen with Clean North. They applied more than once. So that's in, it's either in here or it's in the terms of reference of the Community Development Fund. I think so.
Is your question, can you apply in multiple years as the same organization, or is your question that as well as if you apply in one intake and you're declined, can you apply again?
Well, those are
For the
two-
same project, is
Those
that?
are 2 good
Yeah.
questions, but neither of them was the one. that I was
Okay.
asking. So I'm asking sort of more specifically, like, can they apply in multiple intakes, like for different projects?
Yes. They can,
Okay, and then is
as
there?
long as they wrap up the first one. So they have to,
But what if the project is unrelated to the first one? They still have to. finish it.
they have to, so
You
they,
can have 2 running.
no, they have to submit their first claim. So after they say we gave a nonprofit $500,
Yeah.
okay, to do something, they have to spend the money, submit their receipts, and then we cut them, once we get all that and it's all shored up with their application, we cut them a check, the project is closed, they're welcome to apply again.
So then what, like, is there a possibility of multiple tiered project application to say in this part, we'll be doing this, but we intend to apply for this?
Like
this,
different phases.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good idea. I think it could possibly be reflected in, and I'll open it up to others for consideration. If they're applying for like the first intake for $500 as phase 1 of a multi-phase project, but they know for certain they just want to do that chunk now, they should do it now. But if it's a bigger project, they should apply, like, I would say, unless it's going over multiple years, apply for it in one go. Like the fund only has $50,000 in it. So my advice would be, you got a project, apply now, because once the money is gone, the money is gone. It's not like we're dealing with like an $800,000.
Yeah.
So I think that is addressed. If it's not clear, I will add it to the financial section. Okay, so yeah, so page 24, when was the last year received? So if you received funding, for example, in 2023, you have to say it. And if it was for the last year, you have to include a copy of the post-project report, which is submitted to me before it goes up to finance to cut from the check. So it could be clearer, but that is technically inferred that you gotta wrap one up before you do another. I can clarify that language though, for sure. Yep.
You are able to apply multiple.
And I've had that question asked, so that's really good feedback. That's an easy fix.
Anyone else with questions on this first section in terms of intake? Seeing none, we'll move on.
Okay, so section 2, applicant information, the only piece on page 22 of your agenda package that has changed are the 2 highlighted bullets of adding unincorporated organizations or collectives, as well as local school or school community groups / committees. Are there any questions about that piece before we flip the page? I just want to see if there's any hands raised.
No.
I'm just not clear about what that means, like, unincorporated organized collective, like.
Yep.
If
So-
me and a buddy get together.
Yep.
And we start a project.
Yep.
That counts,
So
as long as we.
you have to have at least 2 members, and you have to have been active as a group for at least a year.
But what is membership consist of? Like,
So
how do you
I'll give
define
you an example. In Sault Ste. Marie, we have a collective. It's called the Sault Ste. Marie Climate Hub, or the Sioux Climate Hub. They are a grassroots organization. They are not an incorporated nonprofit.
Okay.
So they are just a group of like-minded individuals that have been around for, I'm going to say, about 3 years, who do things in our community. I think they certainly have more than 2 members. I don't know how many members they have, but they could apply, for example.
I
If
just think you'll run into issues around how you determine membership but
Yeah.
anyways, I don't wanna get into the.
Well,
weeds, but
no,
just-
it's a good point. So do you have any thoughts on like how we could clarify that? I mean,
I just don't know why that stipulation is there.
because at present,
Yeah.
you must be either an incorporated nonprofit,
Right,
and some groups such as, and it's just an example, the Sioux Climate Hub are not incorporated.
no, but the must be composed of at least 2 groups and have that, like, why do they have that?
Because we've defined it as like a collective, like more than one essentially. And I think we have something called the neighbors, I think 2 neighbors helping neighbors. I think I sent you the link. That's for like individual neighborhoods who want to do like a project that not only would help with environmental, like in climate change action, but also neighborhood safety. So that's when you have someone that could apply. It's just, it's pretty hard to do a project when you're, unless you're awesome and a superstar, like to do a project by yourself. So I think it's helpful to have more than one member.
Fair.
Anything else there? Okay, moving on, Emily.
Okay, so, still part of, I think there's an issue here, section 2. Section 3 should not be section 2, so I see there's a numbering issue here, so I'm gonna fix that. So page 22, there's some, 23 rather, contributing partners. So up till recently, we have asked applicants to write, are you working with anyone? So for example, with the project that we've had this year. Okay, the Clean North project, they applied for money to move all those cedar trees to the new Northway, thank you. And so they were partnering with the Sioux Area Hospital on this project. So what we've asked for clarification here is for applicants to be more specific about the type of partnership beyond, okay, we're just partnering with the Sioux Area Hospital. What is it? You know, like be more specific about the proposed collaboration and actions of each of the partners. We've seen in all of our applications, most of them have that partnership collaboration agreement. So this was just a space to elaborate on that in more detail.
Questions? No? Okay, carry on.
Okay, so again, I see there's a numbering error, so I will address that. So section 2, which is really section 3, project information, still page 23. This we did not have before, and this was a common piece of feedback about communication strategy. We're giving organizations, groups money to do projects in our communities. We don't want them to be siloed. We want folks to be able to hear about them. So we've asked them to outline their communication strategy for promoting the project. So are they going to do a press release? Do they have plans for social media? Is it a community event? And you know, what are they going to do to make sure that people are aware of it? So it's pretty straightforward. I think it's a really good point to bring attention to environmental projects in the community. Any questions feedback on that.
Do you have like a suggestions page for each of these, like for this specifically? Like, or do you have
Like what a communication strategy could look like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a couple of things in here, like, you know, press release, but like I said, like I work with every applicant, so if they don't have an idea, I'll definitely pull from the inventory of projects past, as well as suggestions based on, you know, best practices that we've seen for other projects, for sure. They're not alone, like, I mean, they could be if they want to, but there's a resource at the thing that's here to assist with that, right?
do you think you should add something like improve my reach?
Sure, like audience,
Improve-
that's an easy addition. Anticipated audience, I feel like we may have that, hang on, I think we might actually have that. So section 5, page 25 of your agenda package. There is a box here that talks about anticipated impact on the community as a whole from your planned project. I feel like that could potentially address the audience. But we can absolutely add it in for clarity there as well. What do you think?
Thanks.
Yeah, okay,
It's like who are you?
anticipated audience.
Yeah, who you trying to.
Is everybody okay with that? It's a minor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
think it's a bit different from the anticipated
Yeah.
community impact too, and in that you are looking to message different groups. of people.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Nairi,
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Do we have any like hashtag whatever, I don't know, environmental sustainability committee, any tags that we'd want them to add to the storyline kind of thing? Like, the city, you always have a hashtag City of Sault Ste. Marie or whatever. I just wanted to suggest it because I think that's the way people find out about stuff. You're scrolling through and then it's easy for them to add to what the city's doing by just doing a hashtag.
I think that's an awesome idea, and I actually have thought of one. And feel free to laugh, like I am not a social media guru, but I thought sustainable SSM would be kind of cool. Like hashtag sustainable SSM. But we haven't done that yet. Like it's not trending. It's not a thing yet. But when we launch the video, which is going to roll into next year, and we're going to talk about that as our third project that the committee identified, maybe we could include that, like when we highlight other projects, like have a project idea, like, I don't know, like I'm kind of on the spot here, but we could launch that hashtag to try to create that branding, what you will, but I think it's a great idea.
Okay, moving right along, section 3, really 4.
You want to scroll down?
Oh, sorry, thanks, Andrew. Okay. Okay, page 24. Okay, so here we added this section based on a lot. We've seen quite a bit of city departments who have applied for funds, and they're still eligible in the revised funding. But we've asked here for city department applicants to elaborate on plans to incorporate this request into future operating or capital budgets. So comments, clarification on that?
All good, looks like.
Yes.
I mean, I'll always have questions for this because it's just the way that I am. But like, to me, it's a good question, but it's like it doesn't like have teeth. It's like, please elaborate how you can incorporate this. Oh, we're gonna do this. This is how we're gonna incorporate it. Okay, great. But it's like, how do you plan to incorporate this, and how do you plan to achieve the goals of sustainability or climate? How does it reach your climate change targets?
So I have a thought on that.
Yeah.
I think that we could add like in, you know, like penalties, we could add like in writing to this, requests, like, you know, if say we got something, for example, like we have the fire, the electric snow blower. Okay, so the city now has an idea clearly about what an electric snow blower costs. And there is a resolution that is pushing towards looking at electrification of small engine fleet. So now that we know what that costs, we should realistically be replacing all snow blowers with that. And we know what it is. So it's like, okay, you now know what this is going to cost. You should have no excuse. Hence the piece about future operating or capital budgets. And so we, as I mean, I would think, would hope that we don't see that kind of request again. Like this committee would be like the training wheels, so to speak, to get this on the go. But once we know, but I mean, it could be elaborated upon for sure. But that's how I take that. But we don't really have, as you said, any language in there that says this will be the one and only for this kind of a project. But it can be, I would say, inferred with the future operating or capital budgets.
Yeah, I would add something like, and how does it achieve your climate targets?
Yeah, so
In like,
I wonder if we kept the piece about carbon.
There's something in there, is there not? Is it?
There was when we had,
Then it's legal.
well, no, there was, but I don't know if we have that anymore because we got rid of, if your project is emission reduction. You know,
There, your project, under 4, environmental benefits, how it achieves environmental sustainability reduction, la, 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 la. There's those under section
Thank
4.
you.
Yeah, it's right there.
so where's the carbon? We don't have that anymore. We used to have that when we had the 6 categories. If it was GHG, if you check the box for
I see.
GHG,
Yeah.
because they won't necessarily.
they won't necessarily have that as one. But maybe we could add that language for this city department one, like carbon, like estimate the carbon emission reduction as well, like.
Or the environment.
Andre and then Tori.
I remember the conversation, so if the fire department is buying a snow blower. And it's gonna cost them X, but they wanna buy an electric snow blower, it's gonna cost them a little bit extra. And I say, because otherwise, you know, we get caught in that trap, we had this conversation, and that's kind of. Not very clear exactly, what do you expect the department to say? This fund is there, I believe. To justify, okay, I can agree with thing, but we don't have that money for that, something like that. But if you need a snow blower, you're gonna be spending $3,000 anyway, but electric snow blower might cost you $3,500, so we can supply the 500. Because you have to buy one anyway, you know what, I just want, I don't know, because I'm concerned, because departments are always looking for ways to increase their budgets, not increase their budget, but you know, decrease their cost or whatever. And I don't want this, so little money that I would hate to see it used by city departments, you know what I mean?
I wanna hear from Tori and then.
Yeah, it's just super quick comment just on Andrew's point of how to like give more meat, maybe, like, is it tying it to the corporate strategic plan or
Yeah.
the city GHG?
Or climate impact.
Yeah, so, that essentially hopefully gets to the point of, you know, this is a one-time thing. What's your pathway to, you know, building this in to your operational budget? Mark?
I would just, I guess to this point also say, from my understanding or my perception of this was that, you know, asking these types of questions allowed us to evaluate to say, no, you know, we're not at that time right now that we don't support this, because you could have, we bought electric then, we bought electric 2022, we bought electric 2023, your 2024 coming asks us for electric funds again, and yet you've never put it into your plan or your budget to buy electric. So that to me says, you know, if it's 2022 and they put it in there saying they're going to do it, then sure, we'd support it, but then afterwards, it's like, well, you said you were gonna do it before, you're coming back to us again asking for it, and you didn't do it, so no. And I think that's part of that is at least knowing that or having that, and then just as a group saying, no, we can't support this project continuously funding, you know, these types of things when it's, you know, part of your responsibility to add that into your budget, after the first, I mean, I won't say the first time, but maybe the first 2 times I'd be okay with. But then, you know, maybe the third year kind of say, well, yeah, you should have really planned it to be in your budget. You're applying for it and saying you're putting it in the application to be in your budget. So what happened there type of thing. And that's, from my perspective, that's what I was looking at it in terms of, I didn't really feel that we needed to add more to it. It was just a piece to say, here's a justification of why we would turn it down. And that was that could have been part of it from that.
I think that there could be value in just adding a bit of language as well as communication with other departments. Because if one person is buying an electric snow blower, one department, for example, we now have an idea of what those cost, and that should be considered on a go-forward basis, because there is also a resolution that's looking for the electrification of small engine equipment. So what I'll do is I will finesse some of the language to make this a little clearer. And in theory, though, everybody's okay with this, I would hope. And we will, you know, I'll send that, you know, for a very quick turnaround tomorrow, because I have to get a council report on the agenda. With these new terms of reference that everyone is comfortable with, but is that okay? Like, is everyone?
Anyone opposed to that? I don't see anyone, so yes, Emily.
Okay.
Proceed as you have suggested.
Okay, great. So still on page 24. So here, it's for how you receive green initiative funding from the city previously. So they have to say yes or no, the amount, and also a description of what they asked for, which ties in with the above as well, to make sure that we're not seeing, you know, a duplicate of efforts, like we're seeing new projects as well. It's more of a technicality. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, so we're now into, there's nothing in environmental benefits. Again, just for clarification, section 4, which we will remember, had 6 boxes that we could check previously, but we've added language such as those 6 categories to leave a bit more room for projects that may not necessarily fit into a box. So that was, I don't know if everyone is okay with that.
Yeah, we talked about that it was
good. Okay, so last section, section 5.
6.
Oh, yes, sorry. My numbering is off. Okay, so here we originally just had the first 2 questions. So complement local initiatives and impact, but we've added, if applicable, how does your project plan to increase environmental sustainability, education, and awareness in our community? And this was really specific to tying into more of like that communication piece. We want to make sure that we're building that awareness, which is a big part of this committee's mandate, but also the GHG reduction plan. Questions? Clear? Okay. So I added a bit more clarification under section 7, just for the applicants to make sure that their project has a specific start and end date, specific deliverables, and will benefit the residents of Sault Ste. Marie, because this is a Sault Ste. Marie fund. Just want to check one more thing at the beginning. So I don't know if anyone has questions for
Maybe as to benefit. Or maybe not, I guess it's.
has to.
It doesn't have to, it doesn't.
No.
But there's one other, error, like not error, but one thing I noticed is the first line purpose. it says, is to support the initiatives that result
Yeah,
in
thank you.
improved.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Or do we, is this, I can't remember right now, I'm scrolling up here, motion, is there a motion that comes along? with this?
Yes.
There is. Okay, so we know that you're gonna come back with a smidge different wording.
Yes.
Can we? Can we do it like this? Could we say in principle, and we don't actually, we can't do motions by electronic, is
No.
that right?
I don't think we can,
I
but
don't
we've
think
done
so
this
either.
before, like,
Right.
I had to make a letter, an edit to
Yeah.
that letter,
Okay.
so we proved it and.
So I'm gonna ask right now, could I have, is there someone to move and second the motion, which is that we support this request to approve the revised application and that we ask that council approve the request? Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Corey. Sorry, I went like this. As
I see, all right, we're good.
Okay, and Emily will follow back up with us with regards to that one section with a little bit of
Yep.
tweaked wording, and that feels very good to me. In terms of getting that one off our list.
It looks like.
Yes, we are.
Some great
No.
things.
Yeah.
Good work.
Okay, moving on, we have 25 minutes left, moving on to 6.3. Emily, the
Yeah.
communication.
I just need to share my screen about it. That's at 9, right? Tomorrow, 100? 100 tomorrow? Yeah, go, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. So if we have, Emily, if we have like 10 minutes for this, or let's call it 10 minutes for this, and then we have time for your staff report.
Yeah, my staff
Because
report
we
is very
did-
short,
So, okay.
very, very short. Okay, so, the committee selected 3 projects this year as priorities. One was a spotlight on city apartments, the other one was revising the green fund. And the third was a community climate action communication strategy and materials update. So I did create a survey, that I requested from the committee. There was 11 questions, and we talked about this over the course of 2 meetings. We got 3 responses, but we did talk about it a lot. And I'm going to go over some of those responses very quickly now. But really, the key takeaway from this is a priority for education and awareness projects. And so I really wanted to focus on projects specifically with capacity constraints. So key projects that have been focused on, and I'll talk more in detail on some of these shortly in the staff update, is like the EV showcase that the city partnered with the PUC and the City Climate Hub on. This was a, kind of a simple, straightforward project that helped increase community awareness. We are also, we'll talk about this in a moment, hoping that we can invite, what we were going to do as a webinar for Mike Layton's former City of Toronto councillor and current Chief Sustainability Officer at Ryerson University to our next committee meeting next month, as well as Gabby Calopas from the Clean Air Partnership to talk about some of those municipal best practices that Tobin, you had brought up in your questions to Susan. But bringing them here and opening up that meeting, as always, to the community. And then one other thing that I was thinking about doing, again, focusing more on projects, was looking to get advice, and we can talk about this at another meeting in more detail from the committee, about bringing in like a visionary speaker for an in-person event, because unfortunately Mike Layton and the Clean Air Partnership cannot come to Sault Ste. Marie, but a few years ago, there was a really visionary speaker who came to Sault Ste. Marie, Gil Penalosa. What's his background, Tori?
So
He's a planner, right?
he's an urban planner.
Yeah.
He worked, he's from Colombia, but he also worked in Mississauga, and he has his own nonprofit, 8 to 80 Cities.
Yeah.
Very great speaker, very compelling.
So he came here for an event that I know the city and the health unit worked to to bring to fruition, and it was really successful, and there was a lot of good dialogue, and I think there is something to be said about having an in-person event. So many people sign up for webinars, they don't show up, they're there, but they're omnipresent. I think that this would really have a lot more value beyond folks at this table who have already drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak, when it comes to the environment. So that's something that I really want to focus on for next year, and of course, we'll be seeking input from the committee on that. And of course, the video. So with the fund refresh, you know, we know we have a small green operating budget. We're going to look at creating that video, highlighting previous projects to hopefully drum up more awareness for future applicants as well. So really excited about that. So this communication strategy document, if you will be an ongoing work in progress. But that is sort of what I'm looking at now. But the insights from this committee will not be ignored. So just very quickly, I'll highlight some of the survey results. So across the board, strategy and goals was like a key interest for promoting sustainable practices. Target audience being city staff, youth, and residents. Top messages from the survey was health benefits in the climate emergency, and looking at different communication channels such as video, social media, partnerships, and leveraging things like social media, infographics, and brochures to convey this messaging. All good things that I'm working on implementing already. There was a question in the survey about storytelling, like do we want to consider sharing impactful stories about folks or groups who have taken climate action? And some of the feedback that we got here was that this is a good idea, but we do have to, you know, be mindful about how we speak to some of the urgency of the climate emergency and being more you know, positive, looking for action, so making people feel that we have this impact for the community, and success stories as well. Just again, being careful about, you know, what we want to do is motivate and, you know, clarify urgency as well, and really just highlighting folks who have done things to encourage others to act more. Practical tips, when we had that question, so offer practical tips and guidance on climate action, on how individuals and businesses can contribute, resources and tools to help people implement sustainable practices, and also practical tips on how everyone can contribute to climate action. And a lot of this is already being done. Like over the past couple of years, I have you know, organized a series of webinars. There's been things like the EV showcase. Like there is work on the go, but it's nice to sort of have these ideas and a bit more of a roadmap, if you will, on, you know, what we want to do. Definitely collaboration and partnerships were listed in the survey. So, you know, alignment with the city's tourism goals, making us a clean outdoor city, existing partnerships from great stakeholders such as Clean North, the Climate Hub, and local post-secondary institutions as well, which is, again, something that's already happening. And measurement. So this one was really insightful for me as someone who likes to look at metrics and numbers. So how we define the success of climate action. So some of the ideas that were brought forward were measuring uptake of city departments to show what they're doing. So even things like posts, engagement on posts, our sustainability report, you know, things that aren't too hard to keep track of as well. So if we had a hashtag that we could go and see for that was trending, I think that would be very helpful. And, you know, things like social media clicks, etc. I can tell you for sure we will not be creating a separate social media account. The city already has one. So we'll certainly be leveraging that.
Is that, can I ask a question? Is that something that we can be part of our actionable goals in next year? Like, or not that I'll be, but like,
well, you're on for 4 years, but if you want to leave, you can. Yeah. 3 now.
if I'm still alive, but no, like I think it would be cool because there's like some interesting people here.
Yeah.
Like we can post
About the committee or projects or climate change. Yeah, I think it would be like ideas, like actions, like what people could do,
Yeah, like I grow food.
right?
So we'll be able to got seeds, I give
Absolutely.
away seeds, so.
So there's a champion, you know, an example of someone within our community who is doing work, like that storytelling piece. Absolutely. I think that would be great to either bring in, like, get an inventory of ideas and have this committee maybe pick some. And
I wasn't necessarily
Yeah.
talking about what I do, I was just saying
that's a good example.
we could develop, like, if we knew what the parameters were, a social media for,
Love it.
not necessarily highlighting what I do, but just.
Yeah,
like,
I
What I'll
think
do
it's-
is, I'll maybe, not maybe, I'll put this as an agenda item for next year that we can talk about. To come up with some of those ideas on who should we highlight. I know that the city's summer students this year, they had their like Project Sunshine campaign and they went around and they were highlighting different businesses in the downtown core, what they were doing as it pertains to sustainability, which was really great to see. And so I consider this to be like a continuation of that, right?
And then the message of the grant goes out further because.
Yep. Be cool to even feature the committee. Okay,
Starting with you.
the committee, I'm the staff.
Technically, she's
Oh.
not on it.
Congratulations, Emily, on your community
Technically.
builders award, by the way.
I
know.
Like,
Yeah, I saw that. too.
today, yeah, very
Thank
well
you.
deserved.
Thank you
Yes.
very much, glad to bring attention to the portfolio. So I don't know what this says, because the text is hiding what I had written here. 16, showcase best practices of other municipalities and organizations. Quick provoke thinking about how businesses can be conducted differently. So again, with bringing in, which I really hope we can do, Mike Layton to talk about his time on City of Toronto Council, and also Gabby and Gabby's work at the Clean Air Partnership. And this is going to be actually to the next slide. So I'll just go into it right now. These are the people that we were hoping to bring into a community webinar. But I thought, you know, why don't we bring in, kill two birds with one stone, so to speak, and bring them into a committee meeting where we have council representation as well, and open it up to the community to listen in, which they always can because these meetings are live streamed on the city's YouTube. Gabby from the Clean Air Partnership, she works with municipalities across Ontario. I'm in touch with her regularly for best practices, for work that I'm working on for us operationally. Really great resource could perhaps inspire our community, as well as Mike as well. So certainly these are the kinds of things that we're already working on, but very good to have it highlighted in the strategy as well.
Emily, Councillor Gardner has a question and then Mark.
Okay.
No, I understand.
Oh, I did not see.
Ever go ahead and then I'll.
Okay, Nairi?
I just had a quick comment about metrics. It just occurred to me because we're, reaching out to other cities for their best practices. A metric would be as, we're seen as a leader and we're starting to have people ask us to provide presentations on what we're doing.
Yeah, that would be a great, but I will say we do. I participate in a lot of I like about different projects that may not be as interesting, but some of like more of the equipment upgrades that we've been doing here at the city. Some of our work, I don't know, net zero, like there are things that I have done, but it would be good to utilize those presentations. Like we're talking national representation of projects that are taking place here at the city. But yeah, that'd be a great metric to highlight. Nobody knows about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's wonderful.
Corey?
Yeah, so, I'm just wondering, I know there's some parameters that we have to navigate when council gets together, as a whole. But I'm wondering, Emily and Donna, if it wouldn't be prudent, if we're gonna get Mr. Layton and Mrs. Galapos.
Yeah.
If we could encourage attendance from council and senior staff in this building, because I think if we wanna get the message that this should be a priority for all of them. That's maybe from these types of, like I've heard Mr. Layton speak before. not the other individual, but I think if we can, encourage council's attendance. In one way or another, and senior staff in the building, I think we would be a good thing, so I don't know if you wanna talk to Malcolm about that.
Yeah. Yes, if we could get some guidance on the best time to do that, or however
Yeah.
that would work.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, as part of, like, not creating another event or meeting, but if we're gonna open it up to the public, right? I'd like to get members of council in a room. That's like in this room or in a room.
Yep.
Or virtually, but preferably in person, along with like guys like Tom and Larry, and
Yeah.
Susan and stuff like that. to
Yep.
Get the message through.
I'll reach out to Malcolm for guidance on that. And like, I know that you're already meeting. Are you meeting with senior staff or just alone in council for the corporate strategic plan?
Or do we do it combined?
You do it combined?
But if we're gonna do this on December 6th.
Well, the sixth is when our meeting is. I think it's actually the fifth. So it would be like an invitation to this committee meeting, but it doesn't have to be, like, people's schedules start to fill up really quick.
Yeah.
Even mid-November, but having them be a part of this, we can change the date, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
We had like do our committee meeting on a different date that would facilitate what you're talking about, because it
Yes,
is
whenever,
crucial.
I think it's important.
Okay,
I think it's important that, like,
When's the budget meeting?
December,
When?
so the pre-budget is on the 20th. I gotta look at it.
December.
20th of November?
November, so the pre-budget, if I'm going to be council, hopefully, it will be for the terms of reference. So that would be on the 20th.
Yeah.
So then we have,
3 weeks from there?
well, there's 2 meetings in December. Oh, standby.
The 2 budget meetings?
Yeah.
No, you just schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's 2 meetings over 2 consecutive days, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you, Tori. Well, just, you can figure that out, Emily,
Yeah.
and then maybe just,
December 11th and December 12th. Those are when the. budget
I would think it
meetings
would behoove us to try and do it before the budget meetings, yes?
Yeah.
You would, okay,
Have you ever,
which would be that week.
have you ever seen something like this, Corey, like where you bring somebody in for council and senior management, like to do a talk?
I haven't,
You
but I
haven't?
just wanna get no, that's not true.
Okay.
It's not true, because we had someone new with me at the time. We had the gentleman who came in to speak about the homelessness and evictions challenges. Was that? No, that was when we were on.
So DSAP.
But I
Anyway,
hope I'm not confusing you. What I'm saying is, whenever this guy's gonna be here.
Yeah.
We ask Malcolm to send, like, if it's gonna be open to the public anyway, like you said, right?
Yeah.
And nobody views it.
yeah,
If we pump it out, I think. We could get some virtual attendance, we work with Jordan and whoever to
Yeah.
promote it. But just to get the message that, like, it's important, because I will tell you, like, there are colleagues of mine who. One, I don't necessarily know if they understand its
Yep.
importance or
Yep.
appreciate it, I should say. And others who I think would really be interested in hearing about what they would be speaking of.
got it.
And if we're trying to impress upon all of our departments.
Yeah.
To take this much more seriously.
Yeah.
I think people responsible for those departments have to get the message directly.
So if we could finagle this before those budget meetings,
Mhm.
and Mike Layton does not wanna come from a GHG standpoint, he doesn't wanna.
Yeah.
Travel from a carbon
Yeah, I
standpoint.
understand.
Do you believe that we could get your colleagues in a room, a virtual environment to try to pay attention, like even if we brought them physically here?
Yes,
And
that's what, like,
Mike
I'm
was-
thinking, people have to join virtually, but they're encouraged to attend in
Yeah.
person, and I would assist with getting counsel here.
Thank you, Cory.
Okay, be continued.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'll work on that. No, appreciate the feedback. Okay, that's it for the communication strategy update on my end.
Any questions from anyone about the communication strategy notes that are here and the plan to implement, or the ideas that are here?
It's a work in progress.
No, I think it's fantastic, Emily. I think it's fantastic. It's very, to me, it's very clear what we can highlight, what we can focus on, the things we can do. And they're by no means second rate or anything. There's a lot of good stuff there. There's a lot of good stuff there. Thank you to all of you who contributed to helping to put this together. Fantastic. Great. Okay,
So last thing
I think we're on your staff update.
Okay, so very quickly, I just wanted to highlight some more of what I would call a brick and mortar event that just took place last month. This was our EV showcase, a first in Sault Ste. Marie. We had a great turnout. So this was a partnership between the PUC, the Sault Climate Hub, and the city. I would say we got at least, 40 plus folks out there, probably more, because no one was really keeping track because we had a lot of questions, all different demographics, families, some seniors, even some students. Like it was really great. And we actually had, so the partners had all chipped in for a prize pack, but we had someone donate a tablet to go into the prize pack. And so it was really great. Even people who had registered brought their EVs, and like it was come and go event. Lots of good feedback, and we're hoping to make this an annual occurrence, because whether we like it or not, the future is electric. There is legislation that's pushing us towards this way come 2035. So getting out there, supporting the community with education and awareness was really, really great. And we're looking to possibly collaborate with the Queen Street Cruise, which gets other car enthusiasts out there, but in a bit of a warmer month, the month of June, because it was quite chilly that day actually. I was in a tube and everything. I can't be cold anymore. So this was a great project that ties into a lot of the goals of this communication strategy, but was something that you could see that was tangible, and it was also partnership. So it would be a good example for what we'd like people to apply for the fund for down the road.
I have a thought for you.
Yep.
Well, we worked a lot on it together a lot, that's why. Is there an opportunity, could there be an opportunity to invite any local electric vehicle manufacturers to make something even larger out of it that can be like a one-stop shop for people who are interested in it's like a trade show, if you will, I guess, in a way, right? A trade so I think just a thought.
It's something, and I'll let Mark speak to this as well. It's something that we're definitely considering for this first.
Awesome.
This first pick of the can, we wanted to keep it more like not salesy, not pushy. Like go talk to your average homeowner who has one and ask them those questions that maybe a car dealer wouldn't want to answer.
Yeah.
Like bringing anxiety. But I know in Thunder Bay they've been doing this for 3 years, and every year it's grown.
Yep.
I think they're having it at their CLE, which is like a big event space now. So certainly when Mark, I don't know if you want to comment on.
Yeah, it was just, and I think that echoes it. We were just trying to do a bit more grassroots. We looked at it back in May and June to do something like that, and reached out to some of the dealerships and stuff. And at the time, it was just there wasn't a lot of support because you couldn't get a lot of the vehicles.
Fair enough.
So why we just kept it like this was just more come and go and less of a sales. I wouldn't necessarily say a sales pitch, but just less of that. The feedback that I've gotten from all the dealerships that I talked to says, they would look at participating in the next one when there's more availability and things like that. So if customers had specific questions about specific vehicles, they can be there to answer them. But yeah, it's the feedback I've had is significant in terms of what the next one will look like.
I think doing this in the first place was significant. I don't want you to take anything away from my suggestion just because of what I said. We want, ideas for growing it. I mean, I could even see that you could grow it to electric forms of transportation, right? You could have electric bikes, you know what I mean? You could even, I don't know, it's getting thick. I mean, you could even do, electric, whatever, snow blowers and lawnmowers. A lot of people, they don't know anything about this, right? They don't know what it's all about. They've never used it. They think they don't work the same way or as well or whatever. So it's just building that, you're getting, anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, no, really.
One thing at a time.
That's the feedback that I've had, that the next one you'll see, so we did that in the PUC parking lot.
Yeah.
The next one you see probably will need more space because we're already running short there where we were, so. It was unexpected and it was great, but I think the next time, yeah, there's a good.
You have to go.
I have just a quick comment, an invitation, so I'm going to meet, we have a speaker and teacher coming in for the next few days, Shima Dagerman, and he's doing, daily teachings on various aspects of like winter preparations, hunting, and on Friday, from 12 to 2, there's a lunch, so you're invited.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'll send the
Yeah, and I'll
registration
circulate it.
link, and then, yeah.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Take care. Happy New
Good
Year.
night.
We're almost done, just the
Okay.
next meeting.
So next meeting, we're gonna confirm when the next meeting is in light of this suggestion that Corey has made to us in terms of including Mike and Gabby in that. And then do you wanna speak to, do we need to decide on
I don't think
next
so.
year right now?
No, I think I'll push
Okay.
that to the next meeting.
There's people like flies.
I know,
Yes, but we still have quorum, so we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exact.
Nobody leave.
Nobody-
We make the motion to adjourn.
Shall I do that now?
Yes.
Wrap this up.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. I'm looking for Mark and Nairi. Mark and Nairi, thank you very much. See you next time. Thank you for your participation today. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.